If the district is not running a deficit, if the district is providing every educational program they can for the kids, all the kids in West Bloomfield, if they're not asking parents to bring in Kleenex and pay for field trips, and they have money left over at the end of the year and they want to spend it on this stuff, that's cool. If that's not true, this is no more responsible than me transferring my money to the Florida Vacation Fund when I can't pay my mortgage. And that's the problem with this. Because what we've heard is, of course, what? The district is running a deficit. If they're running a deficit, I'm going to suggest to you this is why. Okay? Fund surplus without transfers, without that spending, okay, is the green bars. Fund surplus with that spending is the red bars. I want you to just go over here, since you maybe can't read the numbers, and say rather than having a $1.1 or $2 million deficit last year, had they not spent that money for non-educational things, they would have had a surplus of about $5.5 million. To the question, what is driving the train if the district is running a deficit? It's right here. That's the problem.
Who's the driver of this train? We need to get
Yeah. The driver of this train is your superintendent and your school board. Now, I don't know, but I think that if you're spending money on non-educational things and running yourself into deficit, that's not particularly good planning. But you probably should also figure out from this graph it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the decisions they've made about spending the money in other ways. Now those decisions have literally what? Come home to roost. Here's what's fascinating is if you look at their 2010-11 budget, it's like a junkie who can't get off heroin. They continue the same spending pattern. You know, you take a cut so that we can fix the roof with the money that was intended to educate a third grader. It doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're in the roofing business. Okay, here's what that means. How schools spend money is more important than how much money schools have to spend. We need to change the conversation. You go to school board meetings, they say, oh my God, how much money do we have or don't have? Oh my God, what's the deficit going to be? Oh my God, it's going to be this next year. Oh, we're trying to get out of it. They're talking about what? How much money they have. They're never talking about how are we going to spend the money we do have. Maybe a little bit like you if you go home and if you get paid this week or next week and you go home and you think about what you do around the kitchen table. You spend 3 minutes figuring out how much money you have. It's easy for me. I get on the internet, look at my checking account, it says $4.73, and now I know. And now I spend the next 2 hours doing what? Figuring out how I'm going to spend it. Well, school districts should be no different. What you should be hearing at school board meetings is how they're using their resources, not moaning over the fact that they would like more. That was what was so idiotic, excuse my language, about the presentation that somebody did. Was it the superintendent or who? Human resources person about, did you know that school districts around you get more money? So? Your neighbor makes more money. So, you know, does that mean you're not going to talk about how you spend your money? Of course not. That's the lunacy. Here's the quiz. Are there more effective uses of those general fund dollars to promote student learning? I have a test for every business manager in the state of Michigan, including yours. And that is every time they get the checkbook out and write a check, before they sign the signature block, they should have to answer one question, and only one. How will spending this money promote student learning? If they can't answer the question, what don't they do? They don't sign the check. It's the quickest way I know of to align resources with educational outcomes. Now, obviously, this district has a different theory. They take the checkbook out, they look at the check, and they say, well, if it's for fixing the roof or paying for athletics, let's sign that sucker and let it go. And that's the problem. Now, they've done it though. They spent that money. The money they spent for the basketball refs, you aren't going to get it back. I mean, they can't go and say, listen, can I have the check back? I know you refereed the game. They probably won't go. So do they have the money to meet their ongoing obligations? And this is where that deficit thing becomes real important, right? So I wanted to look rather than fund surplus, which is an accounting number, I wanted to look at something unusual in West Bloomfield called cash. It's called working capital. Working capital is how much money do I have to pay my bills on an ongoing basis. So I wanted to take a look at the working capital, and the only way I can do this, of course, is at the end of the school year. I get 1 day snapshot. So at the end of the school year, the working capital, which is the definition is the amount of cash I have less my short-term receivables. I subtract out of that stuff I got to pay the power bill with and all that stuff. At the end of the school year, on June 30th, the day that they had a $1.2 million, or whatever it was, deficit in their fund balance, accounting number, in the bank, they had $6 million in cash. Yeah, same day. Working capital is what operates a school district. They don't give you a little note that says, here's your piece of the fund balance, go see if you can cash it. When they give you a check, what do they give you a check for? Cash. Now, could the district use more cash? Yeah. Could you use more cash? Yeah. But are you going to be able to eat tonight? Same district, same thing here. Their cash is going down. But that's because they're choosing to spend their money in other places, and they still have operating cash because this is on the last day of the school year. What happens after that? They spend money and they get more money in. It's kind of a cycle thing. So here's my question. They have money. How connected are those resources to what? Core educational strategies. That's the question we need to be asking at the school board meeting. Not, what's our deficit? We know that. Look at it once, you don't have to hear it 100 times. The question is, how connected are the money we have with our core education strategies? I would encourage you to ask your school board president and your superintendent one simple question. Just to list for you a half a dozen or a handful of the district's core educational strategies. I don't mean goals. I don't mean, well, so the MEEP stores go up. That's a goal. A strategy is what? A specific set of things you engage in to get what? A specific educational outcome. Why is that so critical? Because once I can figure out those activities I have to engage in to get the desired outcome I want, I can figure out what? How do I spend my money to make that strategy work to get the outcomes I want? Which probably leads you away from spending dollars intended to educate kids on roofs. Because it won't fit into your strategy. There's not going to be a strategy out there that says, okay, if I spend $100,000 on roof repair, third graders' reading skills will go up by, 7 points. It won't work. But that's where a district budget should be focused.